Okay. In light of this week's events, our General Minister and President, the Reverend Teresa Terry Hoard Owens, issued this statement, and I'd like to begin our meeting with this. It is with deep lament that I find myself inviting the church into prayer for the family of Tyree Nichols and for the community of Memphis in the wake of the video footage released yesterday of the death of Tyree Nichols at the hands of Memphis police officers. On January 7th, Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old man, was brutally beaten by 5 Memphis Police Department officers and died in the hospital 3 days later. Another Black man has died at the hands of the police. Another mother grieves the untimely and tragic death of her son. Another video summons our outrage and our cries for moral clarity and action. As Reverend Yvonne Gilmore, Interim Administrative Secretary for the National Convocation, shared in her statement, abuse of power and violence dehumanizes and destroys us all. I have been in communication with the Reverend Dr. Crystal L. Williams, Tennessee Regional Minister, as she supports our pastors and communities across the city of Memphis. I encourage the church to join them as Reverend Dr. Williams encouraged in her message yesterday. Our faith gives us hope when confronted with systems beyond reform. We are the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, a movement for wholeness in a fragmented world. We cannot be whole while violence pervades our systems of justice. We cannot be whole while Black men die at the hands of the police. We cannot be whole while communities fear the very people charged with protection. We must pray and act. When people see love in action, they can know that the limitless love of God exists. Prayer means nothing unless we pray with our feet to build an alternative future. I encourage the church to redouble ourselves to our commitment to be an anti-racist, pro-reconciling church in moments like these, so that we might continue the holy and just work of becoming the church we say we are. And that was our statement from our General Minister and President, the Reverend Teresa Terry Hoard Owens. As we begin our meeting together, I forgot to mention this during worship, so I hope Carrie is still online. B has COVID and so was not able to participate in worship today. So we hold B and Ashith and Carrie in our prayers. This morning, as we prepare for our meeting together, we have 3 things to do, and prayerfully we will be done before the 49ers kickoff. But if not, hold tight because we won't be long after that. But we've got 3 things to do. We need to hear from the Planned Giving Committee and vote on the new policies that the committee has developed. The second thing is we need to hear from the finance team and vote on our budget for the upcoming year. And the third thing is to hear from the state of the church. And I've prepared a slideshow, and well, all of us have prepared different PowerPoints. So if we are ready, Judy and Lori, are we ready? Oh, let's begin with prayer, like a real prayer, not just what the General Minister and President said. Let us pray. O holy and ever-living and ever-loving God, in these days where we feel so heavy, remind us of your limitless love and remind us of the ways in which we not only love you and that you love us, but the ways in which we love each other. Guide us and lead us in this meeting. Guide us and lead our decisions that we make for our congregation in this coming year. Be with us now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Planned giving?
Thank you, Leslie. And good morning. I'm going to highlight the most significant changes to the planned giving policy for you. But before I do, I'd like to mention a little bit about the planned giving committee and how it serves the church. This committee receives, keeps track of, and dispenses money and or property given to the church through bequests, memorial gifts, and tribute gifts. We adhere to the directions given in the policy that is in effect at the time the money was received by the church. The first policy went into effect in November of 1997, was next adopted in January of 2004, and then amended in November of 2010. Due to a number of factors, including recent gifts that were for much larger amounts than in previous years, the Planned Giving Committee determined that there was a need to update the policy to appropriately deal with the changes we were seeing. One very important thing for everyone to understand is that any revised policies only affect bequests received after the date the policy is approved by the congregation. All previous bequests are governed by the policy that was in effect on the date the bequest was received by the church. I think it's also important for everyone to know that the planned giving policy follows the church bylaws. Lori Landberg, Sue Sumner Moore, and I worked many hours, had numerous meetings, communicated with Monica Myers Greenberg, Vice President of the Mountain West Zone of the Christian Church Foundation, as well as communicating with other people, and did a great deal of research in creating this revised policy, which has been reviewed in detail and approved by the Planned Giving Committee, as well as the admin and ministry councils. And as Leslie stated, Lori is here and Sue is online. So if we come up with questions that they are a little bit more knowledgeable about or can better answer, they will assist in this. Do we have the first slide? Okay. I'm going to highlight the most significant policy changes. The first is that we created a memorial endowment fund with most of the annual income. And by annual income, I mean the money generated by, or that will be generated by the Memorial Endowment Fund, not the total income from the bequest, is going to go to the church's overall operating budget, and a smaller percentage to either pay off existing property debt or to be saved for future capital needs. This fund creates a way to have a regular income stream to enhance our current operating budget, as our current policy does not provide any money going to the operating budget. So the Memorial Endowment Fund is in addition to the Living Endowment Fund. It doesn't eliminate the Living Endowment Fund. That will continue. The next change is in the percentage of undesignated bequests going to the Living Endowment Fund and to the Planned Giving undesignated account in order to fund the Memorial Endowment Fund. And that's been broken down into two parts. For undesignated bequests of $100,000 or less, we will have 10% going to outreach, 15% to Planned Giving undesignated account, 20% to the Living Endowment Fund, and 55% to the Memorial Endowment Fund. For undesignated bequests above $100,000, the first $100,000 will be designated, as I just stated, and any remaining funds will have 10% of that to go to outreach projects and 90% to the Memorial Endowment Fund. And the third point increases the total amount that goes for outreach projects from undesignated bequests to 10% of the total bequest. Currently, that's set at 10% of the first 20,000, which means there's only a maximum of $2,000 going to outreach. So this will greatly increase what we're going to be contributing to outreach. Are there any questions so far on any of those points? Okay. Then our next, I think we're on that slide, reduces the numbers of steps when distributing undesignated bequests. Our current policy has 4 steps divided into bequests below $1,000, bequests up to $20,000, and then debt payoff and remainder to the Living Endowment Fund. We've cut that down into 2. As I explained to you, the up to $100,000 in an undesignated bequest and a shift in distribution of funds beyond the initial $100,000. It eliminates the requirement to use the bequest funds for property debt based on discussions with the vice president from Christian Church Foundation. Property debt is reduced, or the reduction of the property debt is addressed in section 3.8.2 under the Memorial Endowment Fund, and I kind of went over with you at the beginning. The next is that designated bequests, we have established the need for written designation as our preferred way to clarify the process for evaluating. Oh, and we have also clarified the process for evaluating verbal designations. This was something that the Plan Giving Committee strongly felt should be in writing. So if you're leaving a bequest to the church and you have a specific place you want that money to go, please put that in writing just so that we have it to back things up and don't have to go through the process of making sure that that's what you really wanted, because we get a lot of he said, she said, I heard. And we want to make sure that if you have left a bequest to the church for a specific need, that it's going to actually go to that need. We also established catastrophic circumstances as the conditions necessary to spend the principal funds of either of our endowments. We previously used extraordinary circumstances, but really felt that there was a stronger condition needed to better protect the principal from the Living Endowment Fund and the Memorial Endowment Fund, because those are things that we normally do not touch. They grow and we use the income generated from those funds. And then we established a 3-year deadline for church committees to spend the allocations from Plan Giving undesignated funds. This does not apply to allocations to uses identified by donors or families of the deceased. This would be if a committee came to us and made a request for money for a particular project. If that project isn't completed within the 3-year period, the money would revert back into the Plan Giving undesignated fund. But the committee does have the opportunity to request that designation be renewed, and the Plan Giving can do that after the 3-year period is up. Are there any questions on any of those? Well, if not, then I'm going to turn this back over to Leslie. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Judy, for working on the policy. I know it took a lot of hard work. We appreciate that, it being more current. Now we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of what we do at First Christian Church to help us to have our presence here today. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a really, really quick highlight of how we looked financially last year. We were very blessed last year because our income actually received was well above the budgeted amount by $12,000. How could that be? We were very, very fortunate that last year our givers of record. So for those that don't understand, givers of record are those people or those of you that attend our church regularly, but just doesn't submit a pledge card. So you give generously whenever you can, and you do by the number that is shown. So that we have give us a record over what we had budgeted of $10,000. So that is the bulk of where our income above our budget came from, is the generosity of you all giving to this church. So thank you very, very much for what you do for us. The next thing I'm going to show you is, so what do we do with all the budgeted money and where are we going to spend that? Now, I know that this is a very difficult for you to read all the lines on the graph, but what I'm basically showing you is the actual budget in the light orange. The majority of that is really going to 4 groups. We have our personnel, our facilities, which is gas, electric, that kind of thing. And then we have our administration, which is insurance, renting copiers, that kind of thing. And then our ministry group. And I'll tell you that I am shocked and surprised by how much we do with how little our ministries get. So please give a round of applause to all our ministry chairs because they are superb. Now, you may not realize by looking at this graph, but our ministry is actually going to go up quite a bit. It's actually going to go up by 28% or so if you look at percentages next year, because I'll tell you why in a minute, but it's actually going to go up quite a bit. Our projected income for next year, that's really from the pledge card that we have received, and that's the total you see there. And we actually saw an increase of 2.8% of increase in pledges. Again, thank you very much, all of you, for your generosity in there. We have quite a few givers that move from the givers of record into a pledge card. So for our givers of record for next year, we are projecting a pretty modest amount of income that we're projecting so that we stay conservative of our projection. And then we have the normal lease, building income and loose offering income that we put in our budget. What I'm going to show different this year, Judy also talked about the living endowment fund and that income. Then that income last year is $5,100. No, we project for next year is $5,100 plus other endowment income that comes in. Oh, it's not? Oh, it's another endowment that we have that gives, but right now the only income we get is that $5,000 that comes into the operating budget. So in the future, when Planned Giving have the other memorial fund, we will see more regular income coming in from other sources for us to help us balance our budget. The 2 new items that I want to talk about in next year's budget is what I call building rental. And that is a more, we're going to advertise and hopefully utilize the space that we have at church in more meaningful ways and also generate income for us. These will be using the sanctuary as weddings, as funerals for non-congregational members, things like of that nature, so that we can also utilize this space and generate income. And so we're actively pursuing rental of our spaces here to improve income from that usage. And that's a new use that we haven't really advertised before. It used to be only word of mouth from people that know of our use. So that we're hopeful that we can make a significant income from that. Now, looking at our total budget, even with those income in mind, we will still be a little bit short our projected expenses. So we are hoping to arrange some fundraisers to supplement what we need for our total expense. And right now we're projecting that fundraise to hopefully bring in a little bit over $4,000 next year. So if you guys want to help me put our heads together, see how we can achieve that in today's environment, that would achieve our goal. And also hopefully those fundraising events can also be a fun thing that we do, and we can all do some fellowship and getting to know each other a little bit at church as well. So we're going to put our thinking caps together and see what we can come up with this year. Next slide. And so as a summary for what our financial outlook for next year is going to look like, we are able to put a gap to our budget with the cash carryover from this year because of the outstanding cash balance that we have from the Givers of Record this year. And then also from our planned fundraiser, we're able to close the gap of our budget. And so the commitment to our pledges are critical because every penny that is on there has already been spoken for, and it has the home that is going to. And so hopefully we can realize all the things that we want to do as a group at church with your support. Now, as I mentioned also, our ministries here does great things. So if you have not participated, please look at the ministry groups we have and get out there and do something that you like, because it is here. And the only reason why we can do so much good work is because of your support. So choose something that excites you and get involved, because the payout, I'm telling you, is tremendous. The payout of your ministry that you do, you get 100 times back for what you do. So thank you. Now I'm going to explain a little bit about what our asset and liability look like. So where does all the money actually go, or where do they live? We're only talking about cash, so we don't talk about property in our asset here. And I'm not going to go over every line here for you. You can look at that, or you can ask me for a better statement later. But what I want to highlight are a couple of things on this asset statement. One is we have received, again, we're very blessed, this year a grant from the Lesher to upgrade our kitchen. And we had received $20,000 of that. So far, we've only spent about $11,000 of that. And so there's still $9,000 remaining at the end of the year that we are spending still. And I think we will spend all of that in the next 2 months, because that is our obligation. We actually should have spent it by the end of the year, but because of supply issue, we were able to get a extension from the Lesher Group to extend that to a little bit earlier this year. So we will be able to utilize that $20,000 and upgrade some of the older appliances, and hopefully also rearrange the kitchen a little bit to make it a little bit more functional for our use. We're not able to do a wholesale kitchen remodel. As you can tell, $20,000 doesn't really go that far, but it's far enough that it will be an improvement. So we'll let you know when all that is done and get some photos to you too. The second item that I want to highlight on our asset part is that we also applied and received a grant from the National Benevolent Association, the NBA, a literacy program, and it's for young women in the crossroads. And they have given us a grant to come up with a way to help increase their professional communication and computer skills to help them help improve, they can better themselves when they finish high school to be more ready to enter into society in a meaningful way. We're very excited about that program. And I think that you've heard Leslie talk about that before. We have also involvement from Nadia with that program. And we also have committed from our own budget over $1,400 from outreach to support that effort. So we are doing a lot next year. So if that is something that calls to you, please get in touch with our outreach group and also Leslie on how you can participate and help out in that program. This slide is actually a little bit old because I have improved that and looked at that. So the market value that I shown here that went down 7.5% is actually overall market value. That includes savings account and other accounts that is not as in the market per se. So that is overall, it went down 7.5%. So if we actually look at only the CCF investment, those are money that are invested in the market, we actually had a 28.9% loss Is it 20? Something in that range. I think all of you looking at your own portfolio will realize that it's a double-digit loss. The 7.5 will be amazing. So that 7.5 is with also cash account, so savings account of that nature. The overall investment account suffers similarly to our own personal account. So it's in the double digits, 20 plus is where that is. But I think that it's already made a little bit of recovery. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will do better next year. Next slide. Again, if you are interested to know where you stand with your pledges and giving statement, our financial secretary, Lisa Morgan, she does a great job of letting you know where you are, and she prepares quarterly statements for us. But if you want to get in touch with her, she's at lisa@concordfcc.net. Now, are there any questions on anything I covered? Scott. Why the other budget from 0 to over 1,000 this year? I'm not complaining. I'm glad you brought that up. So Scott's question was, how come this year the elders budget went from 0 to $1,000? Well, actually, we have exciting news there. We have two. Are they coronation? I want to say coordination, but it's not kings and queens. It's coordination that we have for ministry, for pastors, pastoral. So we have set aside money for that to hold events for that, and also a slight gift for that. So our elders are very, very frugal. So usually they actually don't spend anything that we allocated for, but we did this year in anticipation of those two events. Thank you for asking. Other questions? Well, you all have been great. I'm going to hand over to Leslie so you can see what all the ministry has been doing this year.
Yes, don't tell them that they're getting chlorinated. Yes. Yes.
I just want to say that I cannot thank Jose and Lori for all the hard work they put into this thing.
Amen. Amen. For those on Zoom who didn't hear, Bill was just saying what I was, and I'm going to just co-sign with you, all the hard work that Lori and Chone have put into not only looking at all of the numbers, but building something that has promise and building something that we can live into. And building something that will let us be the church that we say we are. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I do want to lift up one quick thing before I even start, and it's related to what, where did it, oh, there it is. It's related to what Chone just mentioned about us renting out space here. So Lori and I looked at a few different companies that will help promote the church for rentals. And there's one that we've decided to go with because it's a lot more reasonable in terms of price. We've just hit our limit of free advertising, but in our free advertising, we have received 35 profile views, and our profile isn't even fully done, but 35 profile views, 1 website visit, and 4 referrals. And so what this says to me is we have an opportunity to use our space for more than just Sunday, right? And so I want us to know that that is a possibility. There are some other things that are maybe in the works. We don't know yet, But as those come up, we will certainly share them with everyone. All right, let me begin our time. I do want to invite us into a moment of silence and prayer for the friends and family members of Wendy Collins as they grieve her passing. Wendy was a member here for many, many years. I've come to learn that she was an elder and a deacon and did Mexico mission, and Andy and others have told me lots and lots of wonderful things about her. She and I are duolingual partners on as we were both learning Spanish, as Andy is as well. We were Facebook friends, but I've never seen her in person. Wendy passed away unexpectedly on January 22nd. There will be a memorial service held for her in Oregon on March 18th. And the family hopes to have a service here at a later date for her friends and colleagues who were here in California. And as soon as we have that information, I will be sure to share it. Also, as you know, we've been praying for Hope Adenhofer, who was once a member here as well, and Hope is in hospice, and so we hold her in our prayers as well. And I'd like to invite just a moment of silence for both of those beloved ones. Amen. Our last congregational meeting was our first hybrid meeting, and now we have fully moved into hybrid life here at First Christian Church. Our weekly worship services and special services are broadcast every time on Zoom and on Facebook Live, sometimes to my page, most of the time to the church's page. And they're also posted on our website and on our YouTube channel. So most of our committees meet on Zoom, and we celebrate opportunities when our activities mean that we can gather together in person, but we also celebrate the fact that we are able to be to have this way of connecting with people. So I want to spend some time, just a few minutes, sharing with you what we did in 2022 and what we hope to do in 2023. So let's start with worship. We welcomed new members in 2022, Nadia Tavera and Inverleith Frucci. We baptized Maria and Melissa Bushman on Palm Sunday. And anyone interested in getting baptized or renewing your baptism, please just let me know. It won't be cold water, according to Bill. So we use the Lenten program Full to the Brim, developed by Sanctified Arts, and we like them so much that we just keep using them. And so our Advent theme this year was Generation to Generation, and we will use them again for the upcoming Lenten season with a new program called Seeking, Honest Questions for Deeper Faith. And you'll hear more about that in the next few weeks. We held several worship services with our ecumenical and interfaith siblings: Ash Wednesday, Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Trans Day of Visibility, and Longest Night. We are excited about the opportunities to worship together, and we have added 2 new congregations to the group. So Concord United Methodist Church and Hillcrest United Church of Christ have joined our little ranks. In 2022, we participated in the ecumenical services on Good Friday at St. Bonaventure Catholic Church and at Pittsburgh United Methodist Church. And we provided 2 Easter services, a sunrise service and a 10 a.m. regular worship service. Our Ash Wednesday service this year will be held at Clayton Valley Presbyterian Church on February 22nd. We held our annual Blessing of the Animals service, and we were able to share that service with participants online as well. And we get better at doing that every year. We're still kind of shaky, but we're getting better at it. And just a few weeks ago, we gathered together to decorate the church for Advent and Christmas. Thanks to our fellowship chair, Inverleith Frucci, we could have lunch, punch, and cookies while we decorated. And we used some of the new FCC ornaments. So again, if you want one for your house, it's not too late. I think we have about 15 left. So if you want one for your own tree for next year, talk to Andy because she knows where they are. Families lit the candles this year and just groups of different people that we gathered together to read and for Christmas Eve, it was both online and in person, and the children this year read the lesson. I think it's the first time in a very long time that the kids did that, and they did such a fabulous job. Worship goals for 2023, one is that we've already done this one, expanded the worship team to include representatives from the band and from the elders. We will hold our Easter sunrise service this coming year in the youth building instead of outside. Thank you, Bill, for that suggestion. And we will move our Christmas Eve service this year to an earlier time to be more family friendly. We could not have done any of this without an amazing communications team. So a huge thank you goes to Scott Sumner Moore, Brooke Buck, Chone Chung, Greg Mitchell, Chris Gabe, Bowen and Tristan Tang, and Ian Rose, who served as our tech team in 2022. We welcome Clay Carlisle as the team's newest member as Ian goes away to college and just remains in our prayers. So Ian is gone and Clay is taking his place. We continue to provide, or the communications team continued to provide excellent worship services to people worshiping with us online. And we added new members of the communications team. Bridget and Ken and Jacob and Brooke and Scott make up that amazing team of people. We narrowed our social media focus to Facebook, and that includes our new Facebook Concord FCC group on Facebook. It's different than our page. I'm not quite sure how. I've got to talk to Bridget because I know there's both, but I get confused. So thank you. It allows members to post their own content for the whole community. Thank you. Because on the other one, there's only certain people who can post. Thanks, Brooke. We're also, let's see, okay, yes. So some of the goals, I went up a little too far. So some of the goals that they have for 2023 include taking a fresh look at our digital platforms, all of them, and make them more inviting for everyone. To send local mailers to promote FCC Concord, coordinating with other ministry teams, and to continue to improve our hybrid worship experience, address sound issues as they come up. So every so often, it gets kind of wonky, and we know that. So we're going to keep working on improving that. Jesus is the only one who's perfect, so don't worry about it, right? We do our best. Let's see, and we're going to support a hybrid experience for the regional annual meeting. And so we'll talk about that in just a few moments. While worship is important, it is not all that we do or all that we did. So the elders and deacons led the way in continuing to stay in touch with every member of the community through prayer and cards and phone calls and emails and text messages. Ellie and Claudia are our two elder co-chairs this year. And the elders continue to provide worship leadership, adding the role of Zoom elder to their duties. Despite smaller teams, the deacons have been able to cover things every week. And we even have a few new deacons, including a couple of young people on teams with their parents. The goal for 2023 would be to get a few more people to serve in this important serving role. The elders started a prayer chain that anyone can join, and there are situations we learn about, and no matter what else we might be able to do, we can always pray. The epistle James, in the epistle James 5:16 reminds us that the prayers of the faithful are powerful and effective. So please let Renee Earl know if you want to be a part of the prayer chain. And save the date, because Elder Renee Earl will become the Reverend Renee Earl on May 20th, 2023, right here at 1 p.m. That's one of the reasons that the elders have a bigger budget this year. And so we are so excited. And I promise not to cry when I think about it. It's been such a journey, and I'm so proud of her and proud of our church. Well, I said I would try. I promise I would try not to cry. Let me say it that way. So we gather together in a variety of ways, but two of those ways, one is with the Disciples Women as they come together on the second Monday of each month for prayer and study. And they've been meeting on Zoom and in person on occasion. All women of the church are invited to be a part of the group. And the group has evolved. So there's the Monday afternoon meeting, but then there's also some evening meetings on occasion. And so far there were 2 evening meetings in 2022. And I think there've been 2 so far just 1 this year, because it's just January, isn't it? Okay. So that will continue to happen. Quarterly. Thank you. So those will happen quarterly. In December, the Disciples Women were able to have their raffle and treats and treasures sale. And the money that they raise gets donated to a variety of causes. Senior adult ministry was and is very busy. I cannot keep up. From the monthly book club to lunch and learn, the monthly craft class, the weekly walking group, occasional outings and field trips, and regularly connecting with our seniors. Ellie makes me exhausted. I cannot keep up with her. But in 2023, there are hopes that Tai Chi will return in person, and maybe some lunch and learns and some other field trips. In 2022, we lost our beloved Mary Watts, Don Orascannon, and Lois Mackey. But our church also was able to help other people in the community grieve their loved ones as we shared our sanctuary and youth building for a funeral service for someone not connected with the church. Planned Giving celebrates the lives of those saints who have passed away and leave a legacy of love and financial gifts to the church. And as Judy just told us, the committee is responsible for honoring the wishes of those donors. So as you are making your own plans, I want to invite you to remember the church in your will and in insurance policies, and just know that your love for this church will continue to live on through the responsible stewardship of the gifts you have given. We had an incredibly successful year in Stewardship Drive this year in 2022. Our theme was From Bread and Cup to Faith and Giving. And each week we learned about how God's generous invitation to us at the table is also our invitation to generosity in our church. Thank you for your generosity. As Chone said earlier, we increased our pledges over 2022. And this year we received 47 pledges for a total of $144,786. And due to some other gifts from outreach, we were able to double our annual scholarship to Chapman University. There are year-round opportunities to express our generosity, not only giving to our church, but also giving to the broader church. Week of Compassion in February is for domestic and international disaster response. The Easter offering supports the general ministries of the church, of the Christian Church of Disciples of Christ, and that is taken in April. The Pentecost offering in May supports new church ministries. The Reconciliation offering in September supports anti-racism and pro-reconciliation resources. And the Thanksgiving offering supports disciples' colleges and seminaries. And finally, the Christmas offering in December stays in our region and supports the work here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your generosity in the past, and thank you in advance for your generosity for this coming year. One of the ways that gets manifested, our own generosity, is through our work days. Work days are wonderful opportunities for each of us to gather and to be a part of the House and Grounds team. Many hands make light work, and there is so much to keep us busy. This group is small but mighty and can use some extra help. So if you're interested, if you have any talent at all, and all of us do, because all of us clean our houses at least at some point, talk to Bill. Talk to Bill. If you've got other handy skills, talk to Bill. House and Grounds does so many things that we do not see, but we would certainly notice them if they didn't do them. So some of the big accomplishments they had tackled in 2022 include the following. Sponsored 2 successful all-hands work days, managed to have a warm water baptism with no working baptismal heater. I'm telling you, it was a miracle. And I cannot thank, let's see, I'm going to mess up, so I'm not going to name everybody, but Elaine and Bill and Greg and Dean and who else?
That's it.
Okay.
People got that.
Well, and the people who got baptized, that's right, that's right. Oh, and Brian, their dad. So everybody who worked together to make sure that the water was at least tepid. They changed out 4 kitchen faucets, 2 bathroom sinks, 2 bathroom faucets, 3 kitchen sinks, and a partridge in a pear tree, and added 2 under-counter water heaters in the kitchenettes at the Montessori school. This work was done in preparation for the state California lead test in the water and in all of those various rooms, and the test passed earlier this month in January. So that is a relief. Despite COVID, the buildings and grounds of our campus were maintained and kept in good working order. And miracle above miracles, again, this is because of people's individual generosity and our collective generosity, but House and Grounds budget only was exceeded last year by $25. That is a miracle. If you knew the amount of work that they needed to do every single month, there's no way. So I'm convinced somebody did not turn in a receipt or 2. But just know that we appreciate Bill and Greg and everybody on your team. We appreciate all that you do. The goals for 2023 for House and Grounds include preparing the campus and the buildings for the annual meeting that will be held in April, replacing the roof on the youth building, so no more leaks in there, replace 5 water valves in the courtyard, install a coffee bar in the lobby in the narthex that will be part of the legacy that was left by Gloria Matson, and reroute the water line to the lobby bathrooms. The social justice team that grew out of the work of the Epiphany team has been engaged in deeper learning and more activities over the past year. The group met monthly, alternating between learning opportunities and projects or opportunities for advocacy and activism. This year, we started with a racial wealth gap simulation that was eye-opening. In February, we will be reading the book, The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. And in March, we will read the book, Rest as Resistance, a Manifesto by Tricia Hersey. In April, we will talk about self-care as we unlearn false narratives and create a world, community, and church where justice is centered. There is always room for new members and participants, and the Epiphany team has coordinated this effort with spiritual formation and outreach. So this learning time together is with all of us. Spiritual formation touches our lives through education, fun, and creativity. The youth are reading and learning and growing in their faith, and you could see that even today. Yes, they're learning traditional Bible stories, but as Jacob described earlier during the worship service, they are getting even deeper and asking much better questions. Our kids are getting older, and so if we want to continue to do little kid stuff, we're going to have to open up our ministry to the community. Our youth group needs to focus on a fundraising project this year. And there's talk about the kids designing shirts or something that we could sell. I'll buy one. But we need to get feedback from the congregation on what they would like to put the money toward. So we can, let them come up with some ideas, but we need to tell them where the greatest need might be. Perhaps we can look at a mission trip with Blue Theology mission statement in Pacific Grove, or another mission trip. The kids are ready, and we need to encourage their faith development. In 2022, our children, under the fantastic leadership of Jacob Perez and Diana Carlisle, led worship like they did today. Every time a month had a 5th Sunday. They were incredible, and it's wonderful to see their growth and their confidence and their development. to see how they change, right? From one fifth Sunday to the next, somebody gets taller and thinner every time. Today was another of those fantastic experiences, so thank you. But spiritual formation is more than just classwork. It's fun. We were able to hold an outdoor Easter egg hunt, but our kids are getting more interested in hiding the eggs than finding them. So we need to be sure to invite the community next year and maybe move the trunk or treat so that people can see it better. So we had our second trunk or treat, and everyone who participated had a great time. And we even had some visitors from the community who figured out how to get around to the back. Spiritual formation is not just for kids. Adults participated in weekly morning Lectio Divina group that met during Lent last year. And this year we'll do a weekly Bible study or Lectio Divina on Wednesdays during Lent. If you're interested, let me know. And the people who are interested in doing it, we will choose between noon or an evening or whatever works best for everyone. While spiritual formation is about the inward development of our faith, the outreach committee is one of our outward visible expressions. And as you can tell from the articles in the intersections, outreach is always quite busy. So here's just a glimpse of what they do. In 2022, we prepared 7 monthly meals for between 80 and 100 residents of the North Concord Shelter and the Dorn Respite Center. And while the shelter was renovated in 2020 to provide 65 individual rooms, which is great, the renovation meant that there's no longer a place to hold a group meal. So it's a little difficult, but they provide individual servings for each person. We continue to provide donations of single-use utensils, reading glasses, coffee creamers, and cup of soup to the North Concord Shelter. Thanks to the outreach team, First Christian Church is a member of the Interfaith Council. And I will say, in case you don't know this or don't remember this, Diane Maltester is the president of the Interfaith Council's board. So we get lots of information about what they're doing. But because of outreach, we are members of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. And we're involved in one of the activities called I CARE, which stands for Interfaith Community Action Revitalization. It's an interfaith and ecumenical community service program. And this past year, our church joined with Beth Chaim Congregation and the Islamic Center of Zara on the Honoring Moms project. Lori Lamberg and Jacob Perez joined in assembling over 200 hygiene kits at the Beth Chaim congregation. 25 of those kits were donated to Crossroads High School. The other kits were donated to the Monument Crisis Center, and each kit included encouragement cards, many of which were written by our own kids. Due to our connection with the Interfaith Council, we received a donation of 30 duffel bags with water bottles and other things in them for Crossroads High School, hoping that the girls can use them as an additional diaper bag. Janet Gay is our volunteer coordinator with Crossroads High School's pantry and Baby Bucks clothing store. Janet organized their food pantry, and her team, which includes Kathy Zaragoza, Greg and Chonay, and Lori Landberg, organized the clothing store. There was a nationwide shortage of baby formula this year, and it was felt right here in Concord. So baby formula was the #1 requested item from the young mothers at Crossroads High School. Members of the outreach team, along with Judy Carlisle, delivered diapers collected by our Christian Women's Disciples Women's Project or Disciples Women's Fellowship, and delivered those to Crossroads High School and Sweet Beginnings for their diaper assistance program. We provided turkey dinners for Crossroads High School's Thanksgiving luncheon, and at Christmas, the outreach team put together Christmas bags for the 17 students. All the girls received a throw blanket or a quilt from Quilts to Share, the group that Laura Moss is a part of, gloves, lip gloss, and hand cream. In May 2022, we continued to provide meals as a co-sponsor for Winter Nights, which is an interfaith rotating community shelter. The good news is that Winter Nights has a safe parking program for families who are living out of their cars and need a safe place to park overnight. Hope Solutions is another organization that helps provide permanent housing and vital support services to vulnerable families and individuals. If you want to help with any of the programs that we touch that have anything to do with reducing homelessness in Concord, please see Diane or me. In 2022, we applied for and received a $10,000 grant from National Benevolent Association, which is one of our Disciples of Christ general units. Through the grant, Nadia Tavera and volunteers will lead a bilingual financial literacy program for the young women at Crossroads High School. And this is one step toward ending the generational cycle of poverty for those families. In 2021, as Chone mentioned, we received that grant for the Lesher Project from the Dean and Margaret Lesher Foundation grant to upgrade our kitchen and improve our ability to heat and serve. So a lot of the equipment, most of the equipment has been ordered, all of the equipment. Okay, it's on its way. It's in the mail. The check is already paid. The stuff is in the mail. As soon as the kitchen gets redone, then we will have a nice, wonderful tour of our new kitchen. One of the things we enjoy about getting together is the work of the hospitality and fellowship committees. Hospitality committee welcomes us every single Sunday as we enter for worship. I thank them for shepherding the welcome table each and every week. And I thank you all for signing in as you do. We are looking forward to the Gloria Matson Coffee Bar because your pastor is addicted to coffee, I'm just saying. But we are looking forward to that, to the installation of that, and looking forward to the time when we can share food again, share snacks again. The highlight for our fellowship committee of one, which is Inverleaf, was the hanging of the Grains partnership with the worship committee. And it was good to see so many hands working together and having fun. So the goal in 2023 would be to hold events where we can gather safely and bring folks back together in person physically. Inverleaf says, we will have a Books and Brews event, Pride Lunch and Learn in June, and a holiday potluck and cookie exchange. I'm ready for that. And partner with worship again for the hanging of the grains. So that's what we do here, or at least a big part of what we do here. One of the ways that we participate in regional ministry is through the Community of the Great Commission. This year, Renee Earl was the chaplain for the CYF camp, and I directed Joy Camp. Andy now serves on the Outdoor Ministries Committee for the region, and Chris Gabe is our resident cheerleader for camp. So if you haven't seen stuff from Chris, or if you don't have any clue about like when camp is, just talk to Chris. But I'm going to give you a heads up right now. Adult camp is June 8 through 11. Junior camp, which is for kids who've completed 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, June 18 through 22. Cairo camp, kids completing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is June 18 through 24. So they overlap by most of that week. Joy camp, which I will do again, pray for me. Children who have completed kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grades and accompanied by an adult. That'll be June 24 through 26. And then CYF camp are kids who have completed 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, June 25 through July 1. Our members are also involved in the region, and there are places that we can continue to contribute. So Ellie is on training and care, so she gets to know when folks are getting ordained before we do. So excited. Anyway, outdoor ministries, Andy and me, anti-racism team, and executive committee for the whole region is me, and annual gathering is all of us. So you all have hosted annual gathering before, so you know what this is going to be like, and it's going to take all of us working together. So save the date for the 2023 regional annual gathering. It'll be April 28 and 29, and we are hosting. Our previous general minister and president, the Reverend Dr. Sharon Watkins, and my collar crush, the newly retired former president of the Disciples Historical Society and Sharon's husband, the Reverend Dr. Richard Lowry, will be present and will preach both the opening and closing worship, and I'm pretty sure we'll be leading our worship service on the 30th. Finally, we share our campus with the community. Our church campus is home to several English-speaking AA groups and one Spanish-speaking AA group. We also provide space on our campus with the community share food pantry, and we are a voting location for the Contra Costa Board of Elections. Remember to register to vote and then vote in every election. And as we have mentioned earlier, we're looking to share our space even wider. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is a privilege to serve as your pastor. Yes, Chris. Oh, I forgot. Thank you. I completely forgot. Okay. March 11th, Women's Spring Renewal will be here. So we've got something in March, April, and May. So we're going to be busy, y'all. So everybody needs to work together. So yes, and Chris, and I completely forgot about women's ministries on the slide. So Chris is a big part of women's ministries. Are you still on women's ministries? Okay, but Chris is a big part of women's ministries. And Renee, that's right. She's running the retreat. So, and Disciples Women are cooking lunch for them. So yes. Yeah, it is. It's a big team effort. And I completely forgot about it on the slide. So thank you for reminding me. Are there any questions at all? We've got, I know I'm past kick. Yes, Bill. Yeah, we missed it by 15. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I know I had pictures up there for Operation Santa Claus, but yeah. Any questions online? Y'all are watching the game online, aren't you? Oh, see, Andy's watching the game and she's here. Okay. Andy says no score yet. So. All right.
The presentation was so beautiful, yeah, so professional, but so full of hope and love.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, if you haven't voted for the budget and the planned giving, go vote. And for Zoom, you got it in the mail. If you can't find it, then just send an email to, is it 1S or 2? I mean, 1S or no S?
Ballots with an S.
Ballots with an S. So at concordfcc.net or contact Ellie or Andy, excuse me, contact Andy, either one, and just say, yes, I approve. Because if you don't approve, I don't get paid. So I'm just saying. All right. Are we ready to go home and watch the game? All right. Love and peace. Go 49ers. See you all next week.